Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a hopefully useful discussion on all things sleep. For our new visitors, I'm Uncle Patel. I'm a sleep medicine physician at the Wellness Institute for Sleep and Health, and I'm very glad to welcome you to our channel today. For today's discussion, we thought we might cover something that we know a lot of people are looking for: infant co-sleeping. It's a hot topic, especially when new parents are trying to figure out which way is up and which way is down. But most importantly, we want to give you some tips that can make sure that we guarantee the safety for you and your baby. If you like the things we talk about here, don't forget to hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so you can be the first to know when we unveil something new. Now, without further ado, let's get to it. I think the first thing we're going to have to do here is make sure we define co-sleeping. There's a lot of different ideas about what that could possibly mean, so for the purpose of our discussion and for the rest of this video, we'll talk about infant co-sleeping as the baby sharing the bed with the parent. So it's really important to address the topic of safety. From that standpoint, infant co-sleeping is not ideal. Part of the reason for that is that as new parents, we are extremely sleep deprived. And in that state of sleep deprivation, we have a much lower ability to make rapid decisions, to respond to stimuli, and even have an unusual perception of our environment, especially in that sleep to wake transition. What that can look like is when the baby starts to cry, you get jerked out of sleep, it takes you a few minutes to reorient and figure out what you need to do. Or you might have no idea where you are and it really takes you a while. You might make some mistake in getting ready for bed. Beyond that, one of the more concerning issues is what happens while we're actually asleep for the little time we get. During those hours, you can completely shut down your environment. But that could be bad if the baby's sleeping next to you, because there's the possibility you might roll over, crush the baby, take the baby out of bed, do something else unusual that you don't intend. And nobody wants that. So the best course of action is to make sure that you have your own sleeping space, and so does your baby. Now, beyond the safety of infant co-sleeping, there's also the concern about the psychology. This is where it gets a little bit more tricky because there are definitely two schools of thought. The positives say that having good infant co-sleeping environment can promote good bonding between the infant and the parent. The folks that disagree cite the fact that now that the baby is in the real world, he or she has to learn how to adapt and react to his or her environment rather than being surrounded by the parent at all given times. It's a lot of controversy and a lot of it is case by case, so that decision has to rest with you. Let's not forget we're talking about co-sleeping. That means there are two parties involved. There's the infant and there's the parent. Co-sleeping is not ideal from the parent standpoint either. Sometimes look at it and say, well, the baby's sleeping like 20 hours a day. How come I'm still exhausted? That's because a baby's full sleep cycle is about 2 hours a night. Full-grown adult sleep cycle is way longer, closer to about 8. So if you're breaking your sleep cycle every 2 hours to go with baby, you're breaking your sleep when it matters the most, whereas the baby has completed a full rest cycle. The other part to remember is the fact that if the baby is sleeping next to you, your brain is constantly in a mode of hypervigilance. That means any little change in the environment is going to trigger your brain to wake up. You may not wake up fully to consciousness, but your brain is still trying to perceive that environment, so you may not be diving into those nice depths of sleep. The solution to that is creating a separate space for yourself and for your baby, even if it's in the same room, so that that part of your brain can actually shut down and allow you to get a little bit more rest in the small window that you have. And finally, we'll talk about something that people tend not to address when it comes to infant co-sleeping, and that is the psychology on the parents. Especially if you're lucky enough to be going through this with a partner, you can probably understand the impact that this has on the relationship. It's extremely taxing and extremely straining from both a physical and an emotional level. The emotional side of it, with sleep deprivation, we often get a bit edgy, we often get a bit anxious, we can take things out of context, and of course, we happen to take it out on the person nearest to us. Physically speaking, it's nearly impossible to develop intimacy when you have a baby in the same bed with you all the time. So, for your happiness and for your sanity, I highly recommend creating a separate space for you to sleep in and one for your baby. That way, your bed is your sanctuary. All right, everybody, that wraps us up for today. Hopefully, that was some good information for you to make a decision about co sleeping with your infant. If you have any comments, go ahead and leave them below. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Until then, good night, sleep well, and dream strong.